and thank you for joining us in the bulletin this Sunday morning. Welcome to the newscast. I'm Dai Chang with the latest updates for this show. State President attends Ho Chi Minh City's Emulation Congress. Vietnam-Japan high-level talk eyes on Trans-Pacific Partnership and Official Development Assistance Grant. I will take a brief review of Vietnam-US relations ahead of the coming 20th anniversary of the normalization of their relations. The top news for this hour: the 6th Emulation Congress of Ho Chi Minh City opened on Saturday. President Trương Tấn Sang, Deputy Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc, and the National Assembly Vice Chairwoman Nguyễn Thị Kim Ngân attended the event. In his address, President Trương Tấn Sang praised the city's efforts in strengthening emulation movements and taking a leading role in the countries in various fields. President Sang also asked Ho Chi Minh City's party committees, local authorities, and organizations to uphold President Ho Chi Minh's beliefs on patriotic emulation and strengthen communications activities to attract more party members and the public to participate in emulation movements. The Mekong 5 Economic Forum was held in Japan as part of the 7th Mekong-Japan Summit on July the 3rd. The event was organized by the Japan External Trade Organization, with the Vietnamese Prime Minister attending the event together with leaders from Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and Myanmar.
Leaders of the event recognized the significant results achieved in all three pillars of cooperation. Speaking at the conference, Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng pointed out three key areas of cooperation that the Mekong-Japan strategy should focus on in the future. In particular, it should prioritize building an economic foundation for stable growth, balancing between economic growth and environmental protection, and ensuring peace and stability for development. The new Tokyo Strategy 2015 was passed with the overall objective to ensure regional stability and achieve quality growth in the Mekong sub-region.
To accomplish these goals, Japan will provide aid worth 750 billion yen in official development assistance from Mekong countries. We will take into consideration the strength of the Mekong countries and encourage the private sectors to participate more and build multi-layer cooperation with them.
Leaders at the summit affirmed the importance of strengthening cooperation to ensure maritime safety and security, freedom of navigation and aviation, and the peaceful settlement of disputes in accordance with international laws. Prime Minister Dũng noted that disputes in the East Sea are complicated. They are in violation of the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the East Sea and will result in greater tensions in the region.
Leaders at the summit expressed their concerns over recent developments in the East Sea, diminishing trust and affecting peace, security, stability in the region. They called for all parties involved to restrain the use of force, change the status quo, and resolve disputes in accordance with international law, especially the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS 1982.
Japan and member countries pledged to uphold freedom of navigation and overflight amid rising tensions over China's build-up of reefs in disputed waters. In a joint statement issued at the summit, they called for swift agreement on the code of conduct, reiterating their concern over recent developments that may undermine the region's stability. Separately, Japan will provide $6.1 billion over 3 years to develop infrastructure and conserve the environment.
Vietnam Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng also held a state-level talk with his counterpart, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, on July the 4th. During the talks, important decisions was made relating to the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, as well as the Official Development Assistance, or ODA, grant.
Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng appreciates Japan's good reception in Tokyo and considers Japan a good friend of Vietnam. Dũng stressed the importance of the Vietnam-Japan strategic partnership. On the economic sector, the Prime Minister urged a boost in agricultural cooperation. At his addresses, Japanese Prime Minister said that Japan would extend official development assistance to Vietnam, including the Vietnam-Japan Friendship Hospital project or Rei Hospital. Japan will seriously consider Vietnam's proposal for further support in its climate change program, as well as enhancing Vietnam's economic competitiveness. Japan and Vietnam continue to work together in the framework of their cooperation plan towards 2020. The two sides also agreed to ensure peace, security, safety, and freedom of navigation in the East Sea.
Vietnam highly appreciates Japan's contribution in maintaining peace and cooperation in the area over the past decades. The two countries agreed to further build on the code of conduct in the East Sea. Today, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and I hereby announce that the TPP negotiations are soon to be concluded. I'm very pleased to welcome my friend Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng. Japan-Vietnam relations have been growing in an extensive strategic partnership since March. We share concerns about the accretion and reclamation of the East Sea, and we have agreed on the need to maintain peace and security. We will support Vietnam in the completion of its infrastructure. I also pledge that Japan will provide ODA aid to build Rei Hospital, as well as Vietnam-Japan University. Regarding the proposal for cooperative projects that Prime Minister Dũng suggested, I actively support and hope the projects will soon to be implemented.
After the talks, the two prime ministers witnessed a series of signings relating to ODA as well as cooperation between Vietnamese and Japanese firms, including Vietnam's Ministry of Planning and Investment and the External Trade Organization of Japan, or JETRO.
Also on the same day, Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng met with the chairman of Japan External Trade Organization, or JETRO, and various representatives of major Japanese groups. The meetings aimed to assure Japanese investors in Vietnam.
Prime Minister Dũng praised the recent signing between Vietnam's Ministry of Planning and Investment and JETRO. Dũng urged JETRO to promote business investment in Vietnam, especially in the supporting industry sector. In his discussion with the chairman of JETRO, Mr. Hidehiro Yogo, Dũng asked that the organization encourage Japanese firms to cooperate with Vietnamese firms in the development of the industrial zones in Hải Phòng City and Bà Rịa Vũng Tàu, as well as the agricultural sector.
Before the meeting with JETRO, Prime Minister Dũng met with a representative from many major Japanese enterprises. In his meeting with oil products company Idemitsu Kosan, Mitsui Chemical and JSC Corporation, Dũng suggested that the companies continue investing in Vietnam, expanding the scale of the Nghi Sơn project and the Dung Quất oil refinery. The Prime Minister also met with the directors of Mitsubishi and the CEO of Sumitomo. Dũng affirmed that Vietnam will continue to create favorable conditions for Japanese firms to invest further in the country.
Now on to economic news. Cashew nut exports in the first half of this year showed a strong growth, reaching 150,000 tons in volume and $1.08 billion in value, according to a conference on promoting the production and consumption of cashews this year. The figures released on July the 2nd showed that 14% increase in volume and a 28.2% surge in value compared to the same period last year. Vietnamese cashew products have been exported to more than 50 countries, with the largest importers being the United States, China, and the Netherlands. In addition to positive results, the biggest challenge facing cashew processors is their dependence on importing raw cashews. Now, the government's Decree 55 on credit policy will take effect on July the 25th, with the aim of boosting development in the agriculture sector. This new policy has many supporting regulations, with the highlight being a raised limit for loans without collateral. We have more in the following.
Before, farmers like Ba can only borrow up to $2,300, while the actual demand for capital is usually higher. According to the government's Decree 55, which will soon come into effect, farmers will be able to take loans of up to $4,600 without collateral.
I'm really excited about this new policy. I have planned to upgrade facilities and technologies to expand production. But when I have access to a bigger loan, I will have more capital and finish that plan sooner.
The limit on a loan without collateral for farm households will be raised up to $46,000, depending on the size of the business. This is the highest level so far. The new decree aims to support the value chain model and the applications of high technology. According to the Vietnam Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, its total loan for farmers in Đông Anh district of Hanoi is about $200 million. With the new policy, this number is expected to rise 20%.
I think Decree 55 untied an important knot in loan policy for farmers, especially because it raised the limit for loans without collateral. It is usually difficult for farmers to have qualified collateral to make more loans. Meanwhile, the modern production model always requires higher capital.
The bank also promised to design different schemes for households with different products to make sure that the due date for loans is suitable with the harvest time. Decree 55 is expected to provide a boost to the development of the agriculture sector.
Now, over 50% of the $1 billion in foreign direct investment in the southern province of Bình Dương was poured into the government sector in the first half of this year, according to the Provincial Department of Planning and Investment. The province has granted an investment certificate worth $274 million to Politics for Eastern Company under the Taiwan for Eastern Group. As the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Pact enters the final rounds of negotiation, foreign investors are making huge investments in Vietnam to take advantage of preferential export taxes. In the first 2 quarters of this year, provincial government export revenue reached over $904 million, rising 11% from the same period last year. In the second half of a bulletin, a brief review of Vietnam-U.S. relations ahead of the coming 20th anniversary of the normalization of their relations. And classical music concert introduces young Vietnamese talents and their new style and unique experience to classical music lovers. Stay tuned.
Exotic Vietnam is an intriguing blend of many charms. This land is where all manner of stunning landscapes await like a visual feast, rivaled only by the beauty of its people and their abundantly rich tradition and culture. Here is where you can relive the past in richest color or live it up in the bright lights of the big city. With so much more to offer, Vietnam is simply unforgettable.
You're tuning into VTV News live from Hanoi. Now, State President Trương Tấn Sang and Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng cabled a greeting to President Barack Obama on July the 3rd on the occasion of the 239th Independence Day of the United States of America, which falls on July the 4th, 1776 to 2015. National Assembly Chairman Nguyễn Sinh Hùng expressed his congratulations to U.S. Vice President Joseph Biden and House Speaker John Boehner. On the same day, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Phạm Bình Minh sent his greetings to U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry. Now, moving on to other news, Vietnam and the U.S. are jubilantly preparing for the 20th anniversary of the normalization of their diplomatic relations, which falls on July the 11th. According to analysts, over the past 20 years, the two countries' ties have made great strides that not many people could have envisioned. The following report provides you a brief review.
In November 2000, U.S. President Bill Clinton paid an official visit to Vietnam. He was the first U.S. president to arrive in Vietnam after 1975. 5 years ago, in July, he announced the normalization of Vietnam's U.S. relations. Since then, the story of the two countries' ties has entered a new chapter.
Today, I am announcing the normalization of diplomatic relationships with Vietnam.
The first ever Vietnamese ambassador to the U.S., Lê Văn Bằng, still remembered that after the normalization, the two countries' ties faced a lot of obstacles in the first place.
We had to go to 40 out of 50 states to talk with American politicians and American people about the development and integration of Vietnam, about the potential Vietnam-US relations, and convince them that Vietnam's problem were not about war. Vietnam is now a united nation, and the Vietnamese are a united people.
Efforts from both sides have brought about common understanding and development in bilateral ties. Before 1995, the two countries' cooperation was mostly confined to joint searches for those missing in action. The cooperative sectors have been diversified and gained much improvements since 1995. In 2014, two-way trade turnovers reached $35 billion, up 70 times compared to 1995. 17,000 Vietnamese students are studying in the U.S. This is the highest number in Southeast Asia. In July 2013, Vietnam State President Trương Tấn Sang and U.S. President Obama issued a joint statement establishing the comprehensive partnership of Vietnam and the U.S. According to international relations analysts, very few countries in history have achieved such rapid progress in their diplomatic ties.
Working for a long time as a diplomat, I think Vietnam-US relations over the past 20 years are among those that show the most rapid progress. Vietnam and the US have turned from opposition to cooperation.
Over the past 20 years, high-ranking officials from both countries have maintained official visits. In this way, mutual trust was built, building a platform for growing relations in various sectors. Next week, General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng will make a landmark visit to the U.S. This is the first time a leader of Vietnam's Communist Party has visited the U.S.
We already have platforms for cooperation in all sectors. The potential for Vietnam-US relations is still very promising. I believe that in the next 20 years, Vietnam and the US will see intensive improvement.
The 20th anniversary of the normalization of Vietnam-US ties is seen as an occasion for both countries to review their cooperation and resolve their differences in order to preserve the progress. More importantly, this is a time for the two countries to share the vision and further boost their relations.
In related news, an award ceremony and exhibition entitled Vietnam-US Relations and the U.S. Through Vietnamese Photographers' Eyes took place in Hanoi on July the 3rd. 15 awarded photos and over 100 outstanding works in the competition were exhibited in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Vietnam-US diplomatic ties. Let's find out more in the following.
This photo depicting U.S. President Bill Clinton shaking hands with a Vietnamese youth on a balcony by photographer Trần Việt Dũng won first prize in the politics diplomacy category of the competition. This is one of many impressive moments of Vietnam-US relations captured by Vietnamese photographers.
After the U.S. ambassador visited the Temple of Literature, I thought that he would leave right away. Surprisingly, he walked down the street to greet local people, shook their hands, and visited the house of local residents. He was smiling to the children who came to see him. I was very lucky to capture that moment.
The photos are very great. I think that the journalists have captured some extraordinary moments.
The winning photos in the competition bear the message of peace and friendship between Vietnam and the U.S. over many years. They depict many special moments in diplomatic meetings and the bonding of Vietnamese and American people.
I think that behind every piece of art in this exhibition is the message of the relationship between the two countries. They deliver the message that Vietnamese people are willing to forget the past to develop Vietnam-US relations more in the future.
What these photographs tell me is that we're able to deal very clearly, directly with the past, and then we're able to focus on a promising future for the United States and Vietnam. Do things together that increase the prosperity, the stability, and peace in this region and in the world.
All award-winning photos are on display at the Temple of Literature through next Tuesday, July the 7th. These photos will then be exhibited in the Vietnam Culture Week in Washington, D.C.
Phong Nha Kẻ Bàng National Park in Quang Binh Central Province, which boasts the world's largest cave, Sơn Dòng, was recognized as a World Heritage Site for the second time by the UNESCO on the 29th session of the committee on July the 3rd in Germany. During this working session, the World Heritage Committee agreed with the Phong Nha Kẻ Bàng National Park Managing Board to expand the park's area from the current 85,000 to 123,000 hectares. The park first earned the honor in 2003 for its geological and geomorphologic values. The site is comprised of 300 caves and grottos, which a total length of about 126 kilometers, which have only been partly surveyed. The second recognition, a certificate from UNESCO, will be granted to local authorities during Quang Bing's upcoming Grotto Week later this month. A classical music concert entitled The First Hoa Binh Concert took place on Friday night in Hanoi, which falls on July the 3rd. The concert aims to introduce young talent from Europe, including Vietnamese pianist Nguyễn Việt Trung, who is currently studying in Poland. Việt Trung and 3 other artists brought a new style and unique experience to classical music lovers in the capital.
The 4 artists performing were pianist Nguyễn Việt Trung, violist Madalina, cellist Sylvia Anna from Poland, and Mosnika Ruth from Hungary. Famous classical pieces by Piazzolla, Arensky, and Shostakovich were played first in the night.
I really like the people here. They seem very happy, and for me it's a great honor to perform with Trung and his friends also.
19-year-old pianist Nguyễn Việt Trung captivated the audience with piano concertos of Beethoven, Chopin, and Prokofiev. He is overjoyed to perform in his country.
I have performed a lot overseas, but to be honest, I was very touched to receive so much love and support here. I'm really happy. This is an international performing program. I think Việt Trung will go further and become an international pianist.
After Hanoi, the concert continues to captivate audiences in Ho Chi Minh City on Sunday night, July the 5th.
And up next, let's check out what made top highlighted events over the past week.
The Communist Party General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong received former U.S. President Bill Clinton on Thursday, embarking on a series of activities in celebration of 20 years of normalized U.S.-Vietnam relations. At the meeting, Trump appreciated the Clintons' efforts in removing trade barriers and promoting normal relations between the U.S. and Vietnam for the past 2 decades. Clinton said that the U.S. respected and wanted to enhance ties with Vietnam. He also underlined the historic character of Communist Party General Secretary Chong's forthcoming visit to the U.S. from the 6th to the 10th of July. Later in the same day, President Bill Clinton spoke as guest of honor at a reception hosted by the U.S. Embassy to celebrate American Independence Day in Hanoi. The Deputy Prime Minister cum Foreign Minister Pham Binh Minh also attended the event, hoping to work towards a shared vision that characterizes the multifaceted bilateral relationship between the two nations.
Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng arrived in Tokyo on Thursday, July 2nd, commencing his 3-day working visit to Japan at the invitation of his Japanese counterpart Shinzo Abe. During his schedule in Japan, Prime Minister Dũng attended the 7th Mekong Japan Summit with other leaders from Laos, Cambodia, Thailand and Myanmar on Friday. The Vietnamese leader's attendance at the event aims to foster the Mekong-Japan cooperation towards supporting socio-economic development in the Mekong sub-region in general and in Vietnam in particular. The summit in Japan has significant meaning in passing the Tokyo Strategy 2015 and mapping out cooperation orientations between Japan and 5 Mekong nations, namely Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand and Vietnam in the 2016-2018 period.
Vietnam and Laos officially inked an agreement on border trade last Saturday in Cửa Lò, Nghệ An province. Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc and his Laotian counterpart Somsavat Lansavat witnessed the signing ceremony. The agreement will mean exemption of import and value-added tax for a number of goods originating from and traded between the two nations. This also includes reduction of technical barriers when it comes to inspecting products made or grown by Vietnamese investors in Laos in order to serve the Vietnamese market. In the first 6 months of this year, Vietnam-Laos trade turnover reached nearly $700 million. 2014's year-end saw this figure reach $1.3 billion, a 14% jump from the previous year.
The 4th Russian Kilo-class submarine arrived at Cam Ranh port in the south-central province of Khánh Hòa on Tuesday. This was the 4th Russian-built submarine delivered to Vietnam under a contract for 6 boats signed in 2009 for the Vietnam People's Navy. The 74-meter-long, 9.9-wide HQ-185 Khánh Hòa sub has a displacement of 3,000 to 3,950 tons. The 52 crew vessel can operate independently for 45 consecutive days over a 6,000 to 7,500 nautical mile zone.
Last Sunday, June 28th, was a Vietnam Family Day. Under the theme, A Warm Family Meal of Love, this year's event offered various activities nationwide, aiming to affirm the important role of each family in preserving and promoting traditions, as well as building and protecting the nation. A festival of young families was held by the Vietnam Youth Federation in Ho Chi Minh City, also on the same day, to mark Vietnam Family Day. The festival aims to be a playground where young families can engage. This is also a chance for families to receive consultation on children's education and nutrition. On the occasion, 24 outstanding families of young people and youth officials have been honored.
And our bulletin now continues with the updated weather forecast. And that's all we have for now. In the meantime, do log on to vtv4.vn or our YouTube channel at VTV4Yo for more news and updates. For now, goodbye from Hanoi.